stories for bedtime,
and car time, and playtime,
and anytime you want to hear how much Jesus loves you in all this world.
Even little birds.
Hi, I'm Pastor Sarah at St. Paul Lutheran Church in Davenport, Iowa, and I'm here to tell you stories told just for kids, or kids at heart. Every week, I am going to tell you a story about Jesus from the Bible. But for these stories on this podcast, we are going to need to bring our imaginations. We are going to imagine that there was a little bird in all of those Bible stories, a little bird who was friends with Jesus, a little bird who saw all the stuff that Jesus did and heard all the things that Jesus said. Well, friends, our story continues almost 9 months after we left Mary and Elizabeth and the little bird singing praises to God. Elizabeth gave birth to a little boy named John, and Mary returned home to Nazareth. The months passed, and the little baby grew, and so did Mary's belly. Soon that special baby would be born, but in a place no one would expect. So let's listen to what happens. Here's episode 3.
Little boy Mary and Joseph go to Bethlehem.
It was early morning. The sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon. Little Bird flew over to Mary's house to wake her up with a good morning song. But when Little Bird arrived, she saw that Mary was already awake. Mary sat next to a pile of tiny diapers and blankets she was making for her little baby. Little Bird watched as she folded them and tenderly placed them in a bag. As Mary packed, she looked up at Little Bird's confused face. "We're taking a trip, Little Bird," she explained. "We have to go to Bethlehem because the emperor wants a census." Little Bird had so many questions. What was a census? Why Bethlehem? How could the emperor do this? And most importantly, why did Mary have to travel when she was just about to have a baby? As she was pondering this, Joseph led a donkey into the courtyard. He saw Little Bird and must have noticed the questioning look on her face. The emperor, Caesar Augustus, has demanded that all people in the whole empire get counted. It's called a census. Little Bird and Joseph both looked to Mary, packing her little baby clothes. Joseph said, "I know, Little Bird. Our baby is coming soon. If it was you having little baby birds, you'd be getting your nest so cozy, not preparing for a trip. But the emperor ordered it, and we need to go. We need to go to Bethlehem, the city where my family is from." Little Bird understood. She'd been around humans a while, long enough to know that people like Mary and Joseph were often at the mercy of emperors and kings who cared more about their power than their people. Then Joseph leaned over and whispered to Little Bird, "I know it's a long way, 90 miles or so, but would you come with us? It would be a big comfort to Mary to know you are near." Little Bird nodded. Joseph didn't need to have asked. She was already planning to go. So a little while later, Joseph helped Mary climb onto the back of that donkey, and they journeyed to Bethlehem. As they went, they met all kinds of other people going to their own home cities. For about a week, they traveled, going slowly for Mary's sake, depending on the kindness of others. And as they went, they talked, they sang songs and told stories. Joseph told jokes. like this one. Why do seagulls live by the sea?
Why?
Because if they lived by the bay, they'd be bagels. Little Bird loved bird jokes. Finally, they arrived at the city of Bethlehem. Little Bird had never seen so many people in one place. The streets were filled with so many people and their animals. The noise and the chaos terrified Little Bird. She wanted to fly away to someplace quiet and safe. Mary noticed Little Bird's shaking wings. She held out her hand and drew Little Bird close. "Stay here with me," Mary whispered to her. "Joseph is finding us a place to stay, and then we can finally rest. I think the baby is coming soon." But the two of them watched as Joseph knocked on door after door after door, asking if there was room for them to stay. Over and over again, they saw people shake their heads no. Finally, Joseph came back to Mary and Little Bird, his head hanging low. "There's no room for us anywhere," he said. Little Bird saw the sadness and the worry in their faces. Maybe she could help find a place for them. So she stretched her wings and flew around looking for a way to help. Finally, she saw a nice-looking mourning dove sitting in a sycamore tree. Little Bird flew up beside him. The kind dove could tell that Little Bird wasn't local and asked what brought her to Bethlehem. Little Bird told the dove all about Mary and the baby and how they just needed a warm and safe place to go. The dove listened and then got an idea. He told Little Bird that he lived in a nice, clean stable with a cow, a donkey, and a sweet little dog, and some very kind humans who took care of them. The dove said that they were always making room for whoever they could. The dove thought that maybe Mary and Joseph could stay there. He told Little Bird to follow her. So Little Bird and the dove flew back to Mary and Joseph. Little Bird flapped her wings and flew around, doing a kind of bird charades to tell Mary and Joseph to follow them. And somehow, maybe it was pure exhaustion or having no other options, or maybe they just trusted Little Bird. But Mary and Joseph followed the two birds through the city to a little stable down a quiet street. Joseph found the man who lived there, and with gracious kindness he led them to the stable where the animals lived and helped them settle in. The mourning dove offered Little Bird a place in his nice warm nest up in the rafters, and the kind man and his wife brought food to Mary and Joseph, giving them everything they needed as they got comfortable in their temporary home. It wasn't fancy, but just as the mourning dove said, it was warm and clean and safe. As they settled in, Mary looked up at Little Bird and the dove and said, "Thank you. This is perfect." Little Bird was exhausted. As soon as she tucked in her wings, she fell asleep in the warmth of the stable. She was safe in the company of the people she loved and her new animal friends around her. She didn't know how long she slept, but at some point, in the middle of the night, Little Bird woke up to the most beautiful sound. Kids, can you guess what that sound was? I bet you can, but you'll have to wait until next week to find out more. In the meantime, can you imagine what the stable looked like? What animals were there? Draw a picture of how you imagined that stable. Mary and Joseph had a hard time finding a place to stay, and it was the kindness of strangers who offered what they had that helped. Just like Mary and Joseph, many people today don't have homes or safe places to stay. But we can be like that mourning dove and help. This week, think with your grown-ups about how you can help people like Mary and Joseph who need a warm and safe place to stay. And that's the end of this episode of Little Bird and Jesus.
Now flap your little wings. Sing a little song.
And remember that to Jesus,
You will always belong.
Thanks for listening to Little Bird and Jesus, a podcast of St. Paul Lutheran Church in Davenport, Iowa. For more information on St. Paul, visit us at stpaulqc.org. Come visit us again next week as Little Bird continues her journey.